just by using SDMX and SDMX tools, we're not able to address all of our data quality issues, but we're still able to tackle some of them systematically. And some of the benefits that come with that are pretty known, right? By using a specific DSD, data flow, specific set of code lists, we're able to leverage the FMR features and automatically validate our data sets to ensure that they're structurally sound and that all the values are present in the code list, etc. Another aspect that was really critical for us is automation. We're running more 150 plus data pipelines in productions that are orchestrated by Databricks. So it was really essential that we not only to be able to automate single pipelines, but also for that automation to scale across pipelines. So by leveraging SDMX as a standard, plus a package like PySDMX, which natively connect to SDMX APIs, understand the SDMX information model, we were able to build functions that are standard that we can leverage across pipelines. So it reduces the cognitive loads for people working those pipelines across pipelines, right? If I worked on one pipeline using that set of standard functions, I can go to other pipelines and understand what's going on very easily.
And then finally, at the end of our business process, we have publication and dissemination, where we have been using .stat for two final tasks, which is data owner review and approval of the data sets, and publication to either the API for user consumptions directly or any other further downstream platform development.
Thanks. And so to wrap up, really the SDMX ecosystem really empowered us to revamp our data infrastructure. And now that we've become an SDMX shop producing SDMX data in-house, we're really eager to contribute back to the community. And so in the pipeline, we have a few things. We're in the process of becoming member of the SICC community, and we're hoping that we're going to be finalized pretty soon. As I mentioned earlier, we've used a lot of the PySDMX package to build wrapper functions that are closer to a business case. And so I'm hoping we can, through pull request, collaborate whenever that makes sense down the line. And finally, last but not least, the World Bank has developed an open source tool called the metadata editor that allows people to edit and manage referential metadata and export it in SDMX format that can be uploaded in any SDMX supported system. So there is a link here in the slide, so you can visit the page here. You can speak with Olivier Duprier here if you have more questions about the metadata editor. And finally, so we've really benefited from the SDMX ecosystem. We are eager to continue our SDMX journey. And I know it has been repeated many times already since the beginning, but I think it's worth repeating again. In our line of work, collaboration really beats competition. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Elisabetta Baldassari, and she's working at the statistical department in the Italy Marche region. And she will give us some insight in their use case of using SDMX in the ISTAT, with the ISTAT toolkit.
Thank you, Petra. Good morning to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks to the organization for the invitations. And we will share. I try to share a concrete and replicable experience on the use of the innovative tools for statistical dissemination in line with the SDMX international standards. And we are the first region in the regional administration in Italy that is using the SDMX structure, in particular ISTA toolkit, for the data dissemination and sharing, thanks to the collaboration with my co-authors that they are sitting in the seats there, and in particular Mr. Andrea Bruni from Italian Statistical Institute for the collaboration and technical and methodological support, and the IT department of ISTAT, and my colleague Sergio Carabellese, that it is responsible for the practical implementation and construction of DSD, of the DSD in our statistical department. We, as a statistical department of a regional administration, we are taking part of the Italian statistical system, and the aim of our, I can say, objective, our objective is to improve the data dissemination and the transparency to help and to support, in general, regional policies and decisions makers and in general citizens. And what is the role of the Italian Statistical System Hub? We can say that the System Hub is a strategical tool that could allow statistical data to be published in SDMX format, ensuring in general standardization, interoperability, and public access. Marker region was adopted this ISTA toolkit, as I say, to improve the quality, the efficiency, and the transparency of data dissemination at regional level. Oh, sorry. What is the hub for Marker region? We can say that it is an operational response to the needs of a regional administration, and the aim of our statistical department is to improve the use of data, of the information in general, with different means. First, the publication of the data from Italian Statistical Institute and other organizations and bodies, the publication of microdata coming from ISTAT sample surveys and regional sample surveys at regional and sub-regional level, not available at the moment, for example, from Italian Statistical Institute to support the regional policies, and the data production of administrative sources at regional and sub-regional detail. Another very important means is the possibility to link the data residing on other nodes through SDMX web service, in particular with Italian Statistical Institute. Yeah. What is the challenge? The challenge is to move, we can say, from a static dissemination mode to an interactive mode in a transparent and accessible mode, in line that it is important with the international standards and also the expectation in general of public users and citizens. What is the path that we follow to use and to implement the ISTA toolkit? In 2023, the Marche region joined the system project through a strict and efficient collaboration with ISTAT. The software was installed, and then our working group, composed in particular from statisticians and some human resource skilled in IT, we follow the training, a specific training held by ISTAT, and then we continue to work independently, maintaining obviously regular exchange with ISTAT to receive support and assistance. And what kind of operational phases we follow? We summarize the main regional information needs. We identify the artifact necessary for the construction of DSD by different topics. We process data and loading. We define the different data flows and templates, and then we publish it on our Marche data browser. Some example of published topics: labor market, financial indicators, enterprise, other statistics concerning fisheries, waste statistics, all statistics produced at regional and sub-regional level. This is an example of the to pass from EMD manager to the publication in Marche data browser. And what results we have? The main results is to use a toolkit tested at international level. We use the internal human resources with few economic resources, and we try to improve in general the interaction with international, with the Italian Statistical Institute, and also with international organization to improve the use of the ISTAT toolkit. Thank you for the attention.
We move now to the last presentation of this session. It's a presentation from the BIS. Matt Nelson and Stratos Nikoloutsos will take us on a time travel, especially for the SMX metadata.
Thank you, Petra. Good morning, everyone. So, no AI models used in this presentation. Is plain and simple, no shiny stuff. It's a bit more technical, but we hope you find it useful. So, I'm here just to put the context from the business point of view. So, in the BIS, we're using our time travel enabled medal system, which is mainly a consolidated integration layer. So when we collect data, we have to ingest, archive, normalize, integrate data. All is good. Metadata is always SDMX in our case. But what's particular about medal is that data are always stored, never removed, and they are always accompanied by a timestamp. So it's a bitemporal system, so you can go back in time from the data point of view. But then, next to the data, we also have the metadata that follow this ingestion process, and this is where we also need this time travel. We also need the metadata to be able to travel back in time. So currently, medal is using a central FMR for its metadata. Of course, we couldn't be using something else, I guess. And of course, we need to go back in time because a user would like maybe to understand why a validation failed in the past. So he has to have the data that was ingested as well as the metadata, or maybe reconstruct an old submission using the original file as well as the metadata, right? So that's the main reason why we need the time travel in that context. And of course, for this, we haven't implemented that yet, but it's currently what we are working on. I think Matt will talk a bit more about how the FMR supports this. But the idea is that we want to use a new API feature of SDMX, which is the as of parameter for metadata. So you can, at the moment, query, I mean, the standard specifies that you can query metadata at a specific point in time. And that's the objective from the medal point of view.
Thanks, Stratos. Yeah, so as Stratos mentioned, this is a new parameter of the SDMX API. So this isn't a tool specific thing. This is actually part of the SDMX specification. So I'm coming here with my TWG hat on to explain a little bit about how metadata time travel works with semantic versioning, which is also another part of the SDMX specification in version 3.0. So for those that are unfamiliar with semantic versioning, as I said, it was introduced in SDMX 3.0, and it's a way of letting metadata evolve without breaking the structures that depend on it. So here's an example of a simple data structure definition for CPI, Consumer Price Index, with 3 code lists. And you see the versioning number is 1.0.0. So semantic versioning uses a 3-part numbering strategy of major version, minor version, patch version. And in SDMX 3.0, it's possible to actually reference structures, not by the absolute version, but by the latest of something. So you can say, I want to use the latest minor release of the geo code list, or the latest minor release of the CPI code list. And what this allows is the code list to change over time and increase the version, and the data structure definition remains stable at version 1.0.0. So I'll show how this works in action. So as of January, the metadata looks like this. And then in February, we add a code to a CPI item code list. We add a communication code. And we increment the version number of the CPI item code list to 1.10. But you'll see the data structure definition for CPI remains the same. There's been no changes to this. And then another code gets added in March, and the code list moves to 1.2.0. So what we're seeing here is a kind of a graph of structures where the nodes on the graph can change independently and update the versioning, but we have stability at the top of the graph. So semantic versioning is all about stability, and any of these code lists can change over time, as long as it's a minor change. So there are rules on semantic versioning which have been published, and it says things like, if you delete a code, that's a major change because it's a breaking change. So maybe just coming back to this slide, what we're seeing here is as the code lists are changing, of course, the rules are changing on what data we accept for the DSD. Because of course, now we've added new codes to the code list, we can now accept more data in May than we could in January, because now we can accept data for education, communication, transport, and for different countries. But then we have this question, if the validation rules changed over time because we have new code lists, what did the graph look like at any given point in time? So what did the graph look like on the 15th of March, for example? And this is where the metadata time travel comes in, because it enables the system to simply ask for the metadata for the DSD and the related structures at a point in time. And what you will see is the exact version numbers of each of the code lists that were used at that point in time and the references. And it's as simple as that. So basically, semantic versioning introduces the stability, the immutability, and the referential integrity in metadata time travel. Then allows this contextual retrieval across time. So we should have probably put on the slide, actually, because we neglected to put on the slide that this as of parameter. So the as of parameter is part of the specification. You can go to the TWG REST API specification. You'll see the parameter there. Probably should have put that on the slide. We were talking about this just before the presentation. But also, for those that are interested and want to play with this feature, it's in FMR 12, which is in beta. targeting a release of Q1 2026. And actually, for those that are coming to the capacity building on Thursday and Friday, FMR12 was in the STMX lab. This was presented yesterday by HMS. So you'll be able to look at the semantic versioning. And if you want to use the as of feature, you can do that as well. It's kind of ready to go. So thank you for listening.
We have 6 minutes left for questions. So, mics. We'll take them all at once and then we'll answer them. I think that's more efficient.
Hi, Jan Bourdieu, a geospatial lead from UNICEF. I have a quick question for Matt on the versioning of code lists. I'm particularly interested in versioning of the geo code lists and this new feature of SDMX3, which allows us to store geospatial features. Is it also possible to version the geometries of geocode lists? Meaning that in the new version, we have still maybe Spain or District A, but the boundary of this district has changed, which is often the case in the real life. Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you very much for this presentation. And I have also a question to Matt. So it's quite convincing to see how we can update code list. What if we need to add some code lists? I understand it's not the same process, but do you have a process to do this?
Okay.
Yes. So from Sultan from ILO, also the question to Statos and Matt. Just the question is, in the FMR, do you have the plan to say, for example, if you made a change in the code list, does this automatically change the number of the version to reflect? Because sometimes it's difficult to remember, like it's major or minor. So just a quick question. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Just a quick question to our colleague from World Bank on your SDMX journey. Do you have currently any SDMX endpoint that can be accessible for pulling data from WDA? Thank you.
Yeah, also a short question to the colleagues from the World Bank. You showed in your architecture graph that you're ingesting raw data, which is not STMX, and then mapping it to STMX. And I was interested in kind of what formats and how you do the mapping when you have this raw data stream that comes into your environment.
I have a question for the World Bank. What pushed you to develop the World Bank metadata editor? What are the main differences between your solution and FMR as an example? Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks for all the questions. Versioning of geocode lists, yes. So basically the geography of a code is part of the code itself. So you have a code ID and then the geography for that will be within the code. So the versioning is at the code list level. So if you want to describe a change to the geography, that's a new version. One thing I probably should have mentioned is that semantically version structures are immutable. You cannot change them without updating the version number. So that's what gives it the stability. I should have said that. On the question of adding code lists, so I think you mean, well, I'm interpreting that as kind of adding a code list to a DSD, maybe adding a new dimension to a DSD. So there's certain changes. There's a semantic versioning guideline which describes every single structure in STMX and all the changes you can do. And the guideline then says this is a breaking change, and therefore it's a major version change, or it's a non-breaking change, in which case it's a minor. But this is a really interesting example because I have a presentation tomorrow with Abdullah exactly on this ability to modify the dimensionality of a DSD without breaking the upward chain for data collection. This is a feature of STMX 3.1. And does the FMR automatically update the version number based on changes? So one thing it will do is it will enforce the immutability. You can't change the code list without updating the version number. Currently, the beta version does not automatically update it, but the guidelines are there, so we could, in theory, programmatically suggest the minimum version number that's required for the type of change that was made.
Thanks. So on SDMX endpoint for WDI, we do disseminate some WDI data in SDMX format, leveraging SDMX RI. For the rest of the data for the new infrastructure, for the moment it is internal only. It will be external in the coming months. On mapping from non-SDMX data into SDMX, right? That was your question. So we're basically leveraging FMR as well for that, creating basically dummy DSDs and creating a structure map for that, and then leveraging the same process, right? By SDMX reads the information, and then we automate the mapping. And then last question was about mapping. Oh, the metadata editor. So the metadata editor does more than SDMX. So it outputs referential metadata in multiple formats. So that's one of the key aspects of it, and there is probably more. So feel free to reach out to Olivier if you have more questions. Thanks.
So thank you, everybody. I will not take you too long because everybody is hungry, I guess. So it was interesting to learn that SDMX has a large field of application. It's not only disseminate data, but it's supporting the full flow of a statistical process. Improving dissemination, we saw, improving the international compatibility was mentioned. Also, very specific use for the consumer confidence index supporting. And the surprise for me was the creation from the PDFs to an SDMX structure. Supporting regional policymakers is also very important. I understand your dream, Abdullah, but I also heard how important the community is. So I hope we can continue having these sessions. If all is AI, we don't meet again. Thank you.
And before we break for, do we have a microphone? Yeah. Before we break for lunch, just a reminder for the members of the statistical working group. There is a side event during the lunch break. So it's the room that is right across this room. So yeah, for those of you that are in the statistical working group, join the others there. Otherwise, yeah, have a great lunch. I'll see you at 2 o'clock.